Welcome, everybody. It's Black Friday week, and free-ebooks.net has partnered with InfoStacks, and we're bringing you Black Friday info. We're bringing you Black Friday Superstack live streams, shows every day this week until next Tuesday. So tune in today and keep tuning in, because every day we're bringing in a new guest talking about a new amazing book course training that they've got, and you're going to be absolutely amazed by their knowledge. And we're going to start right after this. All right, I'm your host, Scott Patton, president of free-ebooks.net. And I want to just take a second before we start to just share free-ebooks.net. If you are interested in reading and learning, we have over 40,000 free books for you. And the site is free forever. We've got featured books. We've got, look at all these categories, just about anything that you could want. And the reason that we do this is our goal is to share, is to connect readers with authors. I'm tired of going into chapters and looking for a great science fiction book, because I'm a sci-fi fan, and it's the same authors and there's nothing new. And one of the cool things is we have 10,000 authors, if not more, and they're sharing their books for free because they want to create an audience. And the more downloads, they can take the downloads, go to the publisher, hey, publish my book, look at how many people love it. And you get to have the advantage of being able to be part of those communities. So head over to free-ebooks.net and join us today. We'd really love to have you. All right. So with that, I'm very, very excited because we're going to be talking about blockchains. And if you're like me, you have no clue what we're going to be talking about, except all you hear is Bitcoin this and Ethereum that and blockchains. And, oh man, if you'd have bought an NFT last year, it would have gone from $4 to $4 million. How come you missed out? But, so like, what is blockchain and how do you learn what it is and how do you apply it in your life and all those good things? And the key to learning actually is games. If we can start playing some games around blockchain, we're going to be learning in an easy way, because otherwise, if we're just listening to lectures, I don't know about you, but it gets kind of boring. I like to do things. And so today's guest is a programmer and game designer, and he's got a doctorate in robotics, and he dedicated himself to his childhood dream of making video games in which you explore and understand the fascinating inner world workings of our world. And one of the fascinating inner workings of our world is blockchain. So he launched Play Curious, and he then decided to make this game that's going to teach us, I don't know if it's going to teach us everything we need to know, because this is an area that's always changing, but he's going to be teaching us, showing us how the blockchain game works. It's one of the super stacks that's available. I'll just bring that up right there. I'm going to put it into the comments and a little bit later when Jesse is speaking. But you can go there, you can get this game and this training along with a whole pile of other just absolutely amazing trainings during Black Friday week only. All right. So with that, welcome to the whoops, just a second. Welcome to the show, Jesse. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me on. This is fun.
It is fun. I'm glad that you could join us. You're the first, so it's really quite exciting for me to be on here with you. And tell us a little bit about robotics. I mean, that's absolutely amazing.
Robotics is pretty cool. It's true. It's true. I really like that. Actually, it's kind of a funny story. I ended up in robotics because I wanted to do games. And I was so I'm American, but I moved to France at some point, and I followed up on this childhood dream of making games, and I actually contacted this researcher at a nearby lab where I was living in southern France, who had a job opportunity around making games. So I showed up, I talked to him. He was like, actually that opportunity was last year. It's no longer happening. But if you want, I have an opportunity to do different project, a different research project in robotics. So I said, okay, that's cool. So that's how I ended up doing that. So I worked in robotics for about did a PhD in it, and then I worked at a cool company there for a few years. But I always dreamed. I kept working on games in my free time and with friends, and I wanted to get back to there at some point. So I ended up managing to do it first in virtual reality, and then working up in games for education. And that's just something I just love. I love making thinking of ideas of how can you explain something through a game, or how can you explore something through a game? How can you experiment with something? Because, like you said, I find it's the best way to learn.
It certainly is. So I have one last robotic question, and then we're going to jump into blockchain battle. And that is, so I grew up reading science fiction in the 60s. Isaac Asimov was like one of the most prolific, not only science fiction, but I believe science as well, writers. And he had the 3 laws of robotics. The only one of which I remember is you shouldn't kill humans. And I am wondering, in today's world, do any of those laws apply, or was that just his dream?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was probably his dream. Although, it's an interesting idea. Because when I was working in robotics, they would talk about the early explosion of artificial intelligence in the 60s. And I don't know if you know this whole story, but in the 60s, when computers were taking off, they had a lot of early successes and managed to get computers to do this, get computers to do that, solve all these equations. It was pretty amazing. And they gave basically like a research student a few months to come up with the first artificial intelligence program to have a computer talk, which of course they were like so far from doing. It turned out to be a huge, very difficult problem. And so for many years, and when I was doing my PhD, it was, let's say, the early 2000s. It was not, it was kind of like AI was like, yeah, we're not going to try to make some kind of generally intelligent machine like Asimov dreamed of. It's going to be like, an algorithm here, a small robot that just does one thing over here, that kind of very segmented. And now, it's pretty incredible what they've managed to do. And it seems that when I talk to people who work in artificial intelligence these days, it sounds like the big change is that they have extremely powerful computers, and they have they have lots of data. And so, companies like, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, all that can bring in all this data and analyze it. And in fact, apparently, the algorithms are not that different than the kind of things we had before.
Oh, interesting.
It's just that it's so much more powerful now, and there's so much more data that they can just get so much farther with the same concepts. But to answer your question,
right? Like everything is smaller now. Like you look at your phone, it's a solid phone, and then you look at like the 1970s or whenever they had cell phones, and there were these massive phones plus this big box.
Totally.
Right. So that's all changed so much.
Oh yeah, totally. So we'll see. Maybe I think at one point they maybe we'll be talking about those laws again and trying to say how can you secure people against machines. It wouldn't.
I just don't want Terminator to come true. That's. But then you see these robotic dogs, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like it's fascinating. Like first of all, it can walk and run. Yeah. Secondly, it's programmed not to hurt the human, right? Mm-hmm. Like. So you can see it getting really angry, but unable to break its programming. I want to rip your face off, and I can, but unfortunately, there's something in my DNA stopping me, but I can't.
Exactly.
But I mean, to me, that would be really freaky. I mean, if you just so here's my imagination going. Like I said, sci-fi and reading in the 60s, and there's a protest, and you're protesting, high gas prices or whatever. And then 300 robotic dogs come out with sharp fangs and tear gas things. And they just go up to you and put tear gas in your face and bite your leg. And the next thing, put a chain around, there's a chain comes out of the dog, wraps around your leg, and he drags you back.
Yeah.
Like, my goodness, right?
It's true.
On the other hand, if we had wars and it was just whoever could build the most robot dogs that could beat up the most other robot dogs, that would probably be a lot better than sending people out to die. So
that's true. You
kind of always have this two sides of the coin, I guess.
Yeah, we haven't gotten quite there yet, right? Where we have robots fighting each other for the thing.
No, and I mean, then you'd be like, that's stupid. What's the point, right? You're going to bankrupt an economy Like, that's not going to happen.
Just building robots beating each other up. Well, it would be a good idea for a game anyway, if you want, or a science fiction story. Both of those.
Let's talk about. Well, we were just talking about robotic wars, and now we're going to go to blockchain battle. And I have to admit that before I went and I started playing it, so I kind of have a little bit of an idea at the beginning. But what I would like to do is I would like you to pretend that I didn't do that, and I would like, and I'm a 66-year-old person who doesn't even know what a keyboard is, and kind of explain. Well, first of all, like, what am I going to learn, and then take me through the beginning steps, and then we're going to share. Well, first of all, you can get this at the Superstack and here's the link, and it's in the comments. So, go get it, because you're never going to get a deal like this before. But we also have a URL we're going to share in a little bit, so that you can go and try the first 2 levels of the game, right?
Absolutely.
Because we really want you to try it out. So you can go try it out, think, wow, this is really, really cool. And then you can go to the Superstack and get it. So here we are. I have it full on my screen. I can see you off to the side. Obviously, I push this little arrow, right?
Go for it.
Okay. So is that Draper?
Yeah, it's addressed to Draper.
Draper.
Which is a little bit of an inside joke. I can tell you later if you want.
Okay. Well, okay. So Draper, we urgently need your help. We're developing a new cryptocurrency. We can't afford any high-profile hacks. Can you do a full security test? Whatever your normal rate is, we will triple it. Only triple it? You are so cheap, Jesse.
It's all virtual money anyway. It's okay. We can give you more.
Perfect. I knew we could count on you. Before you jump in, enjoy our brand new trailer. Here it comes.
Aren't you tired of?
Yeah, so this is a trailer. Well, I'll talk over it because it sounds like the sound cut there. But this is basically the way Blockchain Battle works, is that we have a bunch of little videos in between levels of the game. And so this is a little video that's kind of a pretend trailer in our fictional universe where we're creating a fictional cryptocurrency called Octor. And they're kind of, selling it. Because, blockchain, when it was originally developed, was kind of one of the main things that people, well, maybe not necessarily blockchain, but definitely Bitcoin, the first, very popular blockchain and cryptocurrency, was kind of based around some of those principles. The idea that you could create a new kind of decentralized economy that didn't rely on big banks and governments and stuff like that. So we tried to kind of express both the, how it works technically, but also the reasons behind it.
Oh, cool. All right. So the red exclamation mark gives it away. I'm going to hit the chat.
That's right.
Sounds like a dream come true, right? In all honesty, it's still in the development. So I'm going to go to the network. And these are the users. So we have Draper.
That's you.
We have Blue Hat.
Blue Hat, yeah.
See, so why
These are your fellow hackers here. So the idea is that we have, a real blockchain has, millions and millions of users on it usually. Of course, for a game, that's a little bit hard to visualize, Right. So we brought it down to just 4. There's just 4 of you.
Yeah, we want to keep it
after
simple.
That, all the blockchain stuff is the real stuff, though.
Okay. And then we'll go back to chat. Sounds like a dream come true. In all honesty, Octor is still in the development phase, missing a few features. We need to find any remaining flaws. And to do that, we've recruited you and 3 other hackers, Mudge, Raven, and Blue Hat. Do you see them in the network? Hi, everyone. Now that introduction's out of the way, it's time to dig in. We gave you each 10 octors. To start, you can check in the ledger module. Here's the ledger. So we all have 10. So I'm playing 3 other people.
No, you're just playing yourself. You're playing Draper on the left there.
And the other people am I playing against 3 other people?
Oh, no, it's not so obvious, but it is possible to have more money than them at the end, which people do like to do. It's true.
I want to
win.
win.
Right now you're cooperating. Yeah, you want to win. You'll see. It's basically, it's kind of a puzzle game. So like basically what happens is as the game goes on, it'll, you interact with the different people and you'll have to do different things. So like the first thing they're going to have you do is make your first transaction, which you'll see in just a minute. If you go back to the messages there.
I gave you each 10 octors to start. Check in the ledger. It's all there. And notice what you see. Everyone else has 10. It's not the bank that watches over your account, but the entire community.
Yeah.
Huh. Also,
That's
and
one
this,
of the-
I'm speaking to Mr. Smith, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And we have Mudge here if I want to talk to them, Blue
Yeah.
Hot here, and Raven here. It's very
That's right.
cool.
Cool.
Now,
Yeah, and that's also true about blockchain, right? I mean, that's one of the big major differences about blockchain is that the idea is that everyone can see everything. It's public. But it's a weird mix between public and private because it's public in the sense that everyone can see what everyone has. But in a real blockchain, you wouldn't necessarily know who the people are. So we simplified that a little bit.
so you can, yeah, right. So this, actually, that's a really good point. I just want to bring it up and emphasize it for a second. In blockchain, you could see, well, somebody has 1 million Bitcoin, but you wouldn't know who that is.
Yeah, it's a weird paradox. It's like, that happens sometimes. They hear about it when you have these big hacks, like someone will steal. And they know they have the hack because they can see that, someone transferred out, some large, the equivalent of millions, of dollars or something. But they don't know who it belongs to. So it's this weird.
Or who took it. All right. It's time for the action. Your first task is simply you need to buy something from one of your colleagues for 1 octar. Okay. So I just go to Mudge. Hi, Mudge. Are you selling anything? I don't have time for that. I have too much work. Okay. Well, thank you, Mudge. Blue Hat. Are you selling anything? He's got a PhD and 10 years of research. Oh, so this is you. Oh, was I not supposed to?
No, it's not me. No,
It is you. Don't tell me it's not you. I know it's you. I love telling dumb jokes. Well, I'm going to see what Raven has to say because I don't know if I like it.
You're not into a joke.
How much you ready to cough up? 1 octar. Are you kidding? Go back to your sandbox. Okay. Hi, Blue Hat.
You don't have much of a choice.
You know the difference between Windows and a virus? Do I know the difference between Windows and a virus? One you pay for. Transaction is on its way. Okay. Oh, do I have to go over here now to do the transaction?
That's right. Absolutely.
Create a transaction. Okay. Add. Choose who to credit and who to debit. So debit is. Now I forgot who I was talking to.
So you're talking to Blue Hat there.
So do I want to debit Blue Hat?
Debit is they taking the money away from them. So they're trying to sell you a joke.
Yeah. So I want to credit Blue. Oh yeah. So that's debit me.
Go.
It's always debit me, and the amount is 1.
Yeah. You could give them more, but it doesn't help.
So the other users judge.
Yeah. So that's a major thing in crypto, in all these blockchains. The idea is that someone else has to approve it. So it's a weird thing also,
Okay.
Normally, if it was a bank, right, the bank would say, yes, this transaction happened. But because it's a decentralized system, as we say, you have to have everybody else kind of check it, or at least a few people. It doesn't necessarily every single person, but a few people have to check it out.
So now I can go check my ledger.
Yeah.
And I see that I am down 1 and Blue Hat is up 1.
That's right.
Okay. And then I go back to the objectives and I did my objective. I get a score of 5.
That's right.
Yay! I go back to the chat. And do you want your joke? Oh, yeah. So I got to go back to the chat and get my joke.
Yeah.
What's the difference between Windows and the virus works? Oh.
It was hard to find good computer jokes, but we tried the best.
Good one. Enough talk. It's time for action. Oh, no.
Oh, that was the part.
We did that.
Yeah.
It's done. Congratulations. You created the first transaction. We want to move beyond having a bank centralize our transactions. We need to communicate them to all the other users for approval. And that's what happened when we were making the transaction. We were waiting for everyone to approve it.
That's right.
This time, I'd like you to verify a transaction between other users. Go ahead, Draper. Oh, okay. So transactions.
Yeah.
So between Raven and Mudge, it's 2.
Yeah.
And so I need to click.
Yeah.
Now the amount is 2. I want to accept that.
That's right.
So
I see that you accept it, and the other people take their.
The other people are thinking about it.
A little slow.
And then they do. Okay, cool. And then we go over here, and we see now Raven's at 8 and Mudge is at 12, and that's transaction 1, transaction 2.
Absolutely.
So we verified a third-party transaction. And Did you examine it? It seems correct to prove it. Otherwise, I'm counting on you. Okay, no problem. It was done.
It's done already.
So verify a second third party. Okay. Oh, need help?
So we have a hint system built into it. So if people get stuck, they can ask it because
Okay.
it can happen. It's a puzzle game, so there's some puzzles.
Right.
You get stuck,
Okay,
and we don't
cool.
want
Well,
people to get.
I'm glad I clicked that because otherwise I would go through this and play the game and go, oh, I don't know what to do. And I wouldn't look for a hint. So,
That's
cool.
always, you never know.
So here it
You're
is.
doing just fine though. Yeah.
So it's Blue Hat and Raven, but we don't know anything about the transaction, do we?
Yeah, that's the tricky part.
Well, I think Blue Hat is a good guy, so I'm going to say okay.
Okay.
Oh, it's 12. He's going to take all of Raven's money. Is that right?
All of Blue Hat's money.
All of Blue Hat's money.
In fact,
I
if
got
you
the credit
check-
and debit
if you-
mixed up.
If you check how much Blue Hat has.
Sorry, ledger. Blue Hat has 11. Oh, so he can't. Oops. So that's like, no, sorry, that's rejected.
Yeah, you did well. See, the only person who accepted it.
The thief. All right, so we've done
And
that
that's
one.
another real thing about cryptocurrency. In fact, one of the major things that Bitcoin did when it first invented, one of the major challenges is getting it to do that correctly. So how can you, it's something called they have to check that people actually have the money before they spend it. When you go to a bank, right? No, I mean, maybe the bank
bank does
but
that,
they're not
yeah.
supposed to let you go under, right?
Right.
So
Although they do.
Yeah, sometimes they do, and then they charge you for it. So
It happens.
yeah.
I actually had a really weird thing happen to me like 15 years ago.
Mhm.
And it was a time of my life where money was really hard to come by, and I missed the rent check money. So I'd given a check to the guy, he took it to a bank, or like he deposited it, and I look in my bank account and I'm short. And oh crap, this is going to be bad.
Yeah.
And then the bank put $500 into my bank account, and the check cleared. And then I got my money because I was just waiting for it. It was just late. And I put it into my bank account. And then the bank took the $500 out and put it where it was supposed to go. So I think that they deposited it in my account instead of Susie's account. And then Susie's going, "Where's my money?" And they go, "Oh, sorry, made this mistake." And then they...
That's too bad they realized. Otherwise,
I'd be $500 richer.
Yeah, I'd be $500 richer. Had you
All
bought
right,
Bitcoin
so
with that $500?
We're back at the game. But I just thought, like what you were saying about approving the transaction. So now I understand when they talk about all these computers approving transactions.
Yes, exactly.
Because they actually are.
Yeah, they're checking. So one of the things they check is that, is there, they can't really know, did you mean to make a transaction or not, right? They don't really know. But like if the equivalent of someone stealing your credit card, if they steal your credit card, the bank doesn't know it's not you, But the thing of like, spending more money than you have, that they can check pretty easily.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to see how a pirate can falsify a transaction. Yeah,
and you finished the first
another
level.
one.
Congratulations.
Oh, I got 14 out of 15 points. Oh, my.
Oh, because you used a hint. So we penalize people just slightly to use the hints, but don't feel
Okay.
bad.
All right. Just a sec here.
So that's the
So
first level of
this
the
is-
game, and then afterwards we have. So we the way the course works is we have a video, we have a game like that, and then we have a video, which is me speaking. So it's probably not the best. I don't know if it's really appropriate for the stream or whatever, but I have a video where I'll talk about what we saw in the game, but also some other stuff that's related to blockchain that is interesting. Some stories related to that, and go a bit more into detail on certain aspects.
Very cool. Yeah, so I'm glad we did this demo because everybody that went and got the game would not know that it cost a point to get a hint, and they would be so mad at you. But now they know. Now they know it's going to
It's
cost
written
you
in
a
small.
point.
It's written in fine print up at the.
I can see the pixels. Awesome. So what's going to happen we basically what we have is, and actually let me just share the URL. I think this is a good time. if you want to play the first 2 levels, learn.playcurious.games, right? And so what's going to happen when I get to level 3, 4, 5 to infinity?
Yes. Well, so let's see. So the second level is all about this thing called hashes. So we get into basically like one of the things that a blockchain does is it kind of like summarizes something about like how as a way to describe the transaction, and it's a way it becomes a security measure that we start explaining later, and then we start going into things called digital signatures, which is kind of cool because it's both something that's used in blockchain and but it's also used in a lot of interesting cryptography applications. So one of the cool things about blockchain I find is that it's it's obviously it's its own field now, but it's also based on a lot of really interesting findings in computers and in computer science and math around cryptography. So how do you make secret codes? And as part of the class, what we do is we go into also a lot of the stories of the first secret codes and how they were invented and how they were used. And, we talk about Turing in World War II, and we talk about these royal plots also where people are making secret codes as a way to send messages back and forth. So we talk about that for a while. We get into also how these codes, how cryptography is used elsewhere than blockchain. So like how we use well, a good example is HTTPS. When you're on your
Right.
web browser and you connect to a website and it's HTTPS at the end, what's the difference? Like what's going on
Right.
there? And that uses some of the same technology that is in blockchain as these security measures. So explain how that works and how how it's important. So I don't know, it's kind of fun. We managed to cover a bunch of different topics that I hope satisfies people's curiosity about how these things work. All at the same time, of course, explaining the basics of blockchain.
Very, very cool. Yeah, yeah, like all of us. I mean, I understand a lot more about blockchain now than I did 27 minutes ago.
Oh, that's awesome. Great.
Yeah.
And that was just the first level.
And that was just the first level. Like, oh yeah, so this is actually happening, and
Well,
I can
that's cool,
see.
yeah.
It's very, very cool. And so, is there anything? Oh, so one of the things that I want to do, I'm going to warn you now, is I always ask our guests for a tip of the day. So we're getting kind of close to we aim for about half an hour. We're
Okay.
getting kind of close. So I'm going to ask you for a tip of the day in a minute. But
Okay.
before I do that, is there anything else you want to tell people about the game or about blockchain in general that you think is important?
Oh, well, let me think. I would say now is the time to go for this bundle. I think it's pretty cool. Like we're being bundled up, not just the cool things that of course you can buy Blockchain Battle on its own, but with the really great thing about this Black Friday sale is you can also get access to all these other things. So we're part of one of many different ebooks that you can get. There's ebooks in this. There's different classes. There's lots of different things, including Scott's own class as well, which is really cool. So it's a great opportunity to get all this stuff at once at a really, really, really good price. So I would encourage people to go for it.
Thank you.
That's one thing. And let's see what else about blockchain. Well, I think it's what more can I say? I could say that we've used it at a bunch of different business schools and engineering schools. So we've given this. It's not just this is really appropriate for anyone. You don't have to be an expert in in math, or you don't have to have a PhD in anything to play this game. Like we really kind of made something that's totally accessible and try to make it as fun, as engaging as possible. But it's still like it's real stuff that we're talking about. We've used this at business schools here in France where I live. Also to engineering students we've given it to, and we've gotten really great reviews from people who have tried it. And quite a few people have said, "Oh, I've had to sit through lectures where people explain Bitcoin to me, and I've never understood it. And after I tried the game, I finally got what they were talking about." And so I think it's just great as a way that, as a first introduction. Like you said, this doesn't explain everything about blockchain. There's a billion different things, and it evolves so quickly. It's honestly really difficult to keep up with everything that's going on. But there are some things that stay more or less kind of basic, like the basic building blocks stay true throughout all of it, and that's what we cover really here is like the beginning, like the very beginning, the most important building blocks that you need to understand in order to get the rest. So if you want to understand smart contracts and NFTs and all that, you have to first understand this bit, And I think we found a pretty good way to explain it to people that makes it fun.
And since you brought up NFTs, this coming Wednesday, and I think it's like 3:15, we're going to be talking about the business case for NFTs and blockchain with Tim Judge. He's my co-instructor in the course in the Superstack. And so in the comments, wherever it is, if it's not, well, these are going to be up forever. These live streams don't go away. So if you miss it on Wednesday, if you're watching this on Thursday, then, go and watch Tim and I talk about NFTs because we get into that. His NFT is socialbees.io. So he has hundreds of different types of bees with sombreros and lipstick and zombie stingers and all the rest of it. And it's very cool because they have a business. It's all about bringing different business ideas forward. So the sombrero bee people might get together and, get some tequila and get a tequila thing going, something like that. And so it's really fascinating. And
That's awesome.
And it's very much like a game. Like if you grew up like me and you were playing like Risk or War or some of those games, and different pieces do different things and whatever, and you start looking at these NFTs and these ones do this and these ones do that, and behind the scenes.
Oh yeah, there's lots of interactions between them, and they can do different things. That's really cool.
It is really cool. So make sure you mark that down and join us on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And with that, just a sec, I'm going to get rid of the Ultimate Superstack for a second. And if I do this, no, okay. We're going to now take a very 4-second break. And when we come back, we're going to have this. And today's tip from Jesse in France is...
Oh, wait. So what is the tip supposed to be about? I don't know.
Whatever you want. Just like this can be a blockchain tip. It could be a life. It could be leave the United States and Canada, come live in France.
That's
it could be get a PhD or you're
quick tip. Get a PhD.
For the rest of your life.
It is worth it. Okay, let me see. I'm trying to think of a quick
AI
tip.
is going to take over the world, so there's no point in studying anything. It's all going to, you don't have to drive a car anymore. It'll drive itself. So.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I got a good tip here for you. Okay. So you know how it's really hard to remember your password, right? So one very important thing, and we talk about this in the class actually, is do not use your same password everywhere. That is really important. Even if it's a good password, don't use it everywhere. You need to find a way to get those passwords saved somehow. So you can use a password manager. There's a bunch of those online. You can use some other more clever thing, like you can write them all down somewhere, but you're actually way better to have them written down somewhere in a secure space, whether it's digital or if it's analog, than having to use the same password all the time, or having just very slight variations on it. Otherwise you can get your stuff hacked. And in particular, make sure you have a really good password on your email, because if someone hacks your email password, you are totally screwed, because they can just reset. They can get your email, and then they go to all the things that you're part of and say, reset my password, get the link on their email, click through, and now they've changed all your they've changed all your passwords for everything, and you're in deep trouble.
That's brilliant. That really, really is important. And it's one of those things that everybody ignores until it happens to them. And then it's like, why didn't I take 5 minutes to do all of that? And in blockchain, there's a I don't know, a coin called Pi, P, like 3.12, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it does it's like doing the calculations that blockchain does, but it doesn't take up any power, sort of thing. It just runs on your phone. I don't understand how it works, right? But they gave me a 12-word password.
Oh, no.
Right? So there's 5 or 6 letters, and there was 12 words. And so I thought, okay, and it was you have to do this now, but it's going to be 6 months because all beta before you're going to use it. So put it somewhere safe. So I put it somewhere safe, And then 6 months go by and they say, okay, now you've got to do blah, 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 but you need to use your password.
Oh no, you couldn't find it. You couldn't find where you had saved it, or you?
No, but it ties in with your tip in a way that I never thought of, okay? So finally, I went to my drafts in my Gmail. And what I had done was made a draft email and put my password in it. Because I thought, who's going to hack my Gmail, right?
Right.
Told me, and I've just told everybody in the world now, if you want 2,600 pi tokens worth exactly 0, hack my Gmail, look at that.
Well, one of the stories we tell in the we tell in the in the class is about someone who lost their Bitcoin key. So in Bitcoin and in almost all cryptocurrencies, it's not these like little passwords. It's these giant keys. And we explain why that is and all that. But anyway, make a long story short, you can't remember it. I mean, I don't know. You have to be like a math genius or something to remember this kind of thing. So people, they have them saved somewhere, like on a computer. And we tell the story of this guy who mined Bitcoin very early on like an old computer, kind of forgot about it. So he had a bunch of Bitcoin, but totally forgot. Then years go by, suddenly Bitcoin, he starts hearing about the price going up. So he's like, oh, I got to dig out that old computer. And then he goes and he realized that he had thrown it out in the dump. And this thing is worth millions. Right. Okay. By the time he realizes this, so he tries to get the municipal dump to let him go in there and like dig out all the junk so that he can try to find this like old hard drive that he had thrown away years ago. It's pretty fun.
That is hilarious.
That could be you.
That's called muting myself and then wondering where's the mute button. But there's another story.
Yeah.
And Ryan Reynolds is just hilarious, right? And he has, is it gin, or he's got some alcoholic drink, I think it's gin that he's got a mobile, a cellular service, Mint Mobile. Have you ever heard of it?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So, and of course, then he just does the commercial himself. And so he's narrating this commercial, and it shows a young 20-something fella getting out of bed and then walking up through the beautiful hills. It's kind of deserty, and he gets up high and he calls it his thinking spot. And he's sitting there and he's looking, and you just see this magnificent view, right? And this fella, he according to Ryan, he's a multimillionaire. He's the only person in his family to have ever, been that successful and been a millionaire. And he's sitting on his thinking rock because he can't remember his password.
That's pretty cool.
So at the end, of course, he's back at his home and this guy's there. You just see the arm, right? So, to honor George or whatever his name is, we gave him this envelope. And so he opens the envelope, I think, thinking that it's the password, and it's like a $20 Mint Mobile cell card. And then, of course, everything after that is beeped out, right?
Oh, right. That's awesome.
And then at the end, it's a true story. Like he really had like 10 Bitcoin or whatever, and just 100 Bitcoin, and just doesn't have a clue where he put, or what the codes were.
Yeah, no, that's really hard. Poor guy.
So Jesse, I have to tell you, it's been wonderful having you on. I really appreciate you and the work that you've done in the game. It's absolutely amazing. I want to remind everybody, the Ultimate Crypto Super Stack, the link is in the comments and in the description, so you can go there and check it all out. There's, 15 or 20 products that are available, and it's at an insane, it's basically like you get everything for free for the cost of one of these courses or games.
Yeah, it's hundreds and hundreds of dollars normally. Yeah, I think the price.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you so much. I had a great time, Scott. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. We appreciate you too, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.